Um,
Hey guys, this is Austin here. I want to welcome you to my show, The Roundtable. I'm here with a guest, Ethan Mankey. Now, Ethan has been studying and covering the UFC for a few years now, and I'm here to talk to him about the most recent developments. Ethan, where'd you go? And specifically, UFC 249.
uh,
You good there?
I don't even know why we're saying specifically UFC 249, but
Well,
either
I
way.
wanted to get your opinion. Now, I heard that you had kind of like a strong reaction to Henry Cejudo's retirement.
Oh my God.
How did you feel about that?
Uh, kind of upset that he went out on top, but good riddance.
Why don't you like this guy?
He's the thing is, like, I don't dislike him. I understand he's a really good internet troll. Like, he plays his position really well. Like, he wants to play the villain. He wants people to hate him because, if enough people hate him, then they'll actually like buy the pay-per-views to watch him fight. I just think he is not the third best fighter in the world.
Now, is that where he's ranked in the pound for pound standings?
As of now, like, I don't know if it changed because like he could have, like, because of his most recent victory and Habib not being able to fight, he might have surpassed him, but they haven't updated the rankings yet. So as of like most recently, he is number 3,
So
like
going out on top,
male and mixed.
right? So going out on top, it's kind of like a John Elway, Peyton Manning move. Um, but you just don't like his personality. It has nothing to do with his fighting style.
Oh no, it's the opposite. Like his personality is pretty funny. Like there was that he created like this advertisement before he when he called out Jose Aldo, and he like has like these 2 women on both sides of him wearing his belt, and he's like calling out Dana White, and then he called out someone else. He was just like, by the way, your movie sucks, and he just dives into a pool. Like he's funny. It's just fighting. It's like his legacy is too tainted.
Why is it tainted? Explain that.
He fought Demetrius Johnson once in the flyweight division, and then he got liver kicked, and so he lost to him once. Then he fought him again and won by a split decision. Where if you ask most people, they'll say Demetrius Johnson won that fight, and Demetrius Johnson was an arguable GOAT status because he defended his flyweight belt like 12 times, which is unheard of. Like no one defends their belt 12 times and succeeds. And so Henry Cejudo became the flyweight champion, which is 125 pounds. And then the current 135-pound champion, the bantamweight champion, TJ Dillashaw, called him out. And then Henry Cejudo said, you called me out, come to me. And TJ Dillashaw was all about that because he understood if he went down to 125 and beat Henry Cejudo, he would become a champ status, and which was everyone is pursuing that at this point. So he cut the weight, went down there, and they fought. And then Henry Cejudo, like, technically knocked him out in like 40 seconds, but even after the fight, everyone was saying it was an early stoppage. And I'll give Henry Cejudo that one because if you watch the fight, like TJ Dillashaw got knocked down like 3 times in a row, like he was going limp. But like when the ref stopped the fight, like TJ Dillashaw was going for a single leg takedown, like he was clearly in the fight still. And so that, like, he claims that he was good because he defended his belt against like the other champion, even though he didn't technically win that fight in most people's eyes. So he's won the title once at 125 and then defended the belt against someone else, but both of those aren't victories. Then he goes up to 135, where at this point, TJ Dillashaw was caught using EPO. I don't know what that does exactly, but it helped him cut weight. And so USADA stripped him of his belt, of his 135 belt. And so Henry Cejudo went up to fight a number 1 contender, Marlon Moraes, and he straight up beat him. Like he went to the 3rd round and just beat the shit out of him on the ground. He knocked him out. So that's a legit victory. And then so he became the bantamweight champion, but it's like you didn't really like earn the bantamweight belt. Like you have it, but like you didn't really beat the champion.
You seem to know a lot about somebody that you're happy is leaving the UFC. Something that you touched on earlier in your kind of tangent, you said he was trying to like double belt How long has that been kind of like a popular target? If I understand correctly, Conor McGregor is the first UFC fighter to hold two belts at the same time, correct?
Yeah, correct. He was
But
the first one to hold two belts at the same time.
But he's not the first to hold two different belts at anything.
No, I know there's two people before him. I don't know the first. I know George St. Pierre, GSP, held two belts at two different times, but Conor was the first to hold them at the same time.
Do you know if there's any current UFC fighters that hold two belts?
No, well, female, there's Amanda Nunes. She holds the women's bantamweight and women's featherweight belt. Henry Cejudo had the double champ status. And the most recent one before that was Daniel Cormier. He held the light heavyweight and the heavyweight belt at the same time until he vacated the light heavyweight belt.
Now, the light heavyweight belt currently is held by John Jones, correct?
Yeah, John Bones Jones.
John Bones Jones. Now,
Jones.
How did DC Daniel Cormier? How did he have that belt? Where was John Jones at the time?
Probably in jail for getting pulled over drunk driving or sometime. I don't know. Just on the bench, unranked.
Speaking of John Jones, currently he is the #1 ranked pound-for-pound fighter. A lot of people have, considered him as the greatest pound-for-pound fighter of all time. But with all of these, allegations and all these findings, about the performance-enhancing drugs and the steroid use, how would you say that's affecting his legacy right now?
You think it would have affected his legacy a lot because, this is he's constantly getting there's so much stuff tainting his legacy. There's so many times where he's getting tested positive for drugs 4 times, and there's always he's just not a good model for people either. You think if it hasn't tainted his legacy by now, it's not going to taint his legacy anytime soon.
Now, I have a quote from John Bones Jones. On a potential fight versus Francis Ngannou, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
He says, "If you guys think I wouldn't take this fight, you're insane. I have absolutely nothing else to prove as a light heavyweight. I'd love that big money fight right around now. Send the deal." So what's that about? Where is this Ngannou, and what's the difference between where he's at and what John Jones has been doing in the light heavyweight?
Do you mean weight class or just you mean status wise?
Weight class and status.
Well, I mean, John Jones is in light heavyweight and Francis Ngannou is at heavyweight, which it's a way bigger weight class. It ranges. I don't know what Francis usually weighs in at. I'm assuming around 240. He's a big dude. But I mean, John Jones, about a year ago, last summer, right before John Jones fought Thiago Santos, he was already having some beef with the middleweight champion Israel Adesanya, but he made it very clear that he wanted to clear out his division. He wanted to fight the top contenders. He wanted to beat anyone who was coming up to him: Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, and now Dominic Reyes. And
now you're talking about John Jones right now?
Yes, he won all those fights. So it's been about a year since he said he wanted to clean up the division. Only 2 fights, but obviously people's opinions are subject to change. So he probably feels that these last few bouts have been pretty close. And so he understands if he goes up to heavyweight and he knocks out Francis Ngannou and survives Francis Ngannou, it really helps his legacy.
Has John Jones ever held another belt before, or has he spent more time in light heavyweight? So he's only been in light heavyweight.
Yes, he's only fought in the light heavyweight division.
Okay. Would he consider going down to middleweight, or is moving up to heavyweight a better career move for him at this point?
It's definitely if John Jones is going to swap weight classes, he's going to go up to heavyweight. If he is going to fight someone from middleweight, he's going to let Israel Adesanya come up to him. But if John Jones is going to shift weight classes, he'll definitely go up. He's not going down.
Now, what's the difference between going up in a weight class versus going down in a weight class? Is one easier? Does it make the training or the fighting style different how does that affect their styles?
Well, the thing is, like everyone cuts down weight classes. No one really like gains weight to fight heavier people. Like it's not really in favor. Now, it's a lot of like cost and return. John Jones is a very big person, so he really probably isn't capable of cutting down to 185, which is the middleweight class. And if he did, he'd be in like a lot of danger because like you're just not healthy at that point. You're more susceptible to getting knocked out if like your body like mass is being drained that fast. Like if you're water cutting that much weight, you'll get knocked out pretty easily. And he understands that. And I'm not saying he can't cut down to 185. It's just not in his best interest. Yeah, he's probably like heavyweight is probably more of a natural body weight for him. But still, you're going to be fighting like a bunch of bigger people there who cut weight to be at that weight too. Like if you look at the size of Francis Ngannou.
Hold on a second. We lost you there on the recording. You said if you take a look at Francis Ngannou, what about him?
He's way bigger than John Jones. Like he's like a full size bigger than John Jones.
Okay. And also along with the lines of UFC 249, we had Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje. What was your reaction to that fight, and what do you want to see next from Tony Ferguson?
I was pretty disappointed with the result because we've seen Tony Ferguson over like the past 8 years just completely dominate his opponents. And going into that fight, I was pretty confident with Tony Ferguson winning. If I was going to put money on that fight, I would have confidently put money on Tony Ferguson winning. Now, in hindsight, I'm not surprised Justin Gaethje won because Justin Gaethje is a very strong, talented fighter. He just outboxed Tony. And I don't understand like why Tony allowed himself to get lit up like that. Like Tony Ferguson has a way more versatile, diverse, like wider kit to use, and he just never used it against Justin Gaethje. Now, what I would like to see from Tony Ferguson, what I think the wisest thing for Tony Ferguson to do would probably just wait for a minute. I mean, he got his face lit the fuck up. He pretty sure he got his orbital bone was cracked. So he got pretty sure he's got a plate in his skull for a minute. Actually, I probably should wait a little bit, like let the division shake up. Like we don't know what Conor McGregor is going to do, and that could be huge. Like Conor McGregor could very possibly fight Dustin Poirier, and then whoever wins that, maybe Tony Ferguson can fight them, or even then, maybe Justin Gaethje goes and beats Khabib for the lightweight belt, and then Khabib is now a contender. And then Tony Ferguson could fight Khabib, and the winner of that could, fight for the lightweight belt.
Yeah. So right now, the lightweight class seems like it's a pretty stacked weight class. The champ right now is Khabib. Then your number one contender, of course, is Gaethje. Then you have Tony Ferguson drop down to 2. You have
Poirier.
Yeah, Poirier, right, at the 3, and Conor at the 4. Out of those first 4 contenders, who would you say has the best shot if they all had a chance to fight Khabib? Who would you say has the best shot at gaining the belt?
Well, not Dustin Poirier, because he very, very had a shot. And then the thing is, I'll answer your question. I'm just going to give a little example. It's pretty funny because when Dustin Poirier lost his shot, and people asked him, what would you have done differently? He said, like, I would have brought a gun into the octagon. Like, and he understands that, like, he's not beating Khabib. And it really sucks because Dustin Poirier is a great guy. When Conor lost, Conor's like, all right, I'm going to take this more seriously. Let's run it back. And now Khabib's like, fuck you. I beat you. I don't need to deal with you anymore. And so I think Conor has a better shot at beating him than Dustin Poirier. But if I wanted one person to beat him, it would be Tony Ferguson.
Tony Ferguson. So even though what you just saw from Gaethje versus Ferguson, is it the fighting style matchup? You think that because you mentioned that Tony Ferguson has a wider set of tools in his belt, you think he'd have a better opportunity to take out Khabib, who, is, like an amazing wrestler, an amazing grappler on the ground.
Yeah. The thing is, Justin Gaethje just straight up outboxed Tony Ferguson, and I'm sure when Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje will probably have a rematch at some point. It'll be different. It won't just be a stand and bang. And if it is, then Tony Ferguson's going to be more elusive, and he's not just going to keep his head on a center line and get lit up constantly. Now the thing is, Khabib's fighting style is purely ground and pounding, but Tony Ferguson is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's a specialist. He knows what he's doing on the ground, and so I think he's got a really good chance to surprise Khabib when he takes him down to the ground to ankle pick him or knee bar him or anything like that when he's on the ground.
So right now, Conor is ranked 4th as a lightweight contender, and he has expressed a desire to regain that belt. Now, what's it going to take? Because obviously the next fight has to be Khabib versus Gaethje. So what do you think? Gaethje. My bad. Yeah. So what does Conor have to do to get high enough in those rankings so that the next title fight could be him?
The thing is, Conor really can't do much to climb the rankings of the lightweight division anymore. He's where he's at, and he's gonna stay there. Everything's just kind of gonna fall around him, where people win and they lose and they fall down. He will. I mean, he's just got to win some fights. That's all it's got to take. He can win some fights at welterweight. He can win some fights at lightweight. He has to win some fights for Khabib to take him seriously and want to rematch him. Khabib already said Conor needs to win 10 fights in a row in order for me to fight him, or there needs to be a lot of money put on the table. Khabib's not interested. Khabib's not going to sign on the dotted line to fight Conor unless they give him a lot of money, or unless Conor goes on a massive win streak here soon. So that's what it's going to have to take to get the lightweight belt. There's plenty. No one knows what Conor wants to do besides Conor, but there's so many options for Conor. But right now, lightweight, it's pretty limited. You just got to fight the top 3 contenders. But Gaethje is obviously got other things to do. Tony can't fight for a while. Justin Poirier's expressed multiple times that he's willing to fight Conor again, but Conor doesn't want to put anything down. He doesn't want to say anything he doesn't want to say anything definitively.
Okay. Now, I've heard you on a few occasions mention Conor as well in the GOAT discussion, not necessarily in a, he's the best, most dominant fighter, nobody could beat him sort of standpoint, but in terms of he has the opportunity to accomplish things that no other fighter has done at very unprecedented levels of success. Earlier we had mentioned him being the first 2-time belt holder at the same time, and this last fight that he had versus Cowboy Cerrone was technically in a welterweight weight class, but it was held under the guise of a lightweight. So now Conor is sort of ranked, I believe he's around 14th in the welterweight division. If he moves, he moved up to 5.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That might not be the official rankings, just from what I saw.
So now supposedly he's top 5 in 2 weight classes at the same time. If he moves up and he takes the welterweight belt, so he'll have had 3 belts, 3 different belts. Does that make him the greatest UFC fighter of all time?
I think that would make him the most accomplished UFC fighter of all time.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is with Conor, he's a really big dude, and he cut a lot of weight to get down to the featherweight belt. And I'm not saying he didn't fight some strong dudes in the featherweight division. He beat Max Holloway, but that was pre-prime Max Holloway. He beat Dustin Poirier, knocked him out in 90 seconds. He defeated Chad Money Mendes, but Chad Mendes rolled off a fucking couch on 2 weeks' notice and fought him. He didn't have a full camp. And he knocked out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds. And I think that was a legit victory. But Conor's a big dude. I think he cheesed that belt. Any big guy can go down to small weight classes and dominate if they're good enough at cutting the weight. he didn't dominate the lightweight division. He knocked out Eddie Alvarez, but everyone and their mother can knock out Eddie Alvarez. Like it wasn't that like most of impressive an accomplishment. So if he somehow goes to the welterweight division
Takes
and
out Kamaru
wins the
Usman.
belt, it doesn't even. I don't even. I'm really kind of tired of this champ status or people just getting straight shots to the title because it's a fluke. Sometimes because champions rise and fall all the time. Like there are very few champions that are stay there at a high status for a while and then get taken out. It's mostly people just get there and then they get taken out by this other champion from another weight class.
Not a lot of people defend their belt 12 times.
Not a lot of people defend their belt 12 times. So if Conor somehow goes, I'd be okay with Conor getting a straight shot at the title. I think it's pretty disrespectful to the other welterweights. Mm-hmm. But if Conor goes there and just it doesn't matter who has the belt at the time. If he goes there and he wins the belt, that's something else. Because these people are huge. These people are way bigger than Conor. You can't cheese this belt. You can't cheat your way to this belt.
Right now in the welterweight rankings, of course, number one, Kamaru Usman is the champion. But then you have the top contenders, Tyrone Woodley, Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, Leon Edwards, and Stephen Thompson in the welterweight rankings in terms of the contenders from what I see right there. Which one of those do you think would be the toughest fight for Conor? And would he be able to take out Kamaru Usman for the belt?
I think the toughest fight for him is going to be Kamaru Usman. Because if you watch Kamaru Usman, he'll just shove you up against the fence and he'll grab your wrist and he's like, "Yeah, you're not going anywhere. You're just stuck here for the rest of the day. You're my bitch now." And the thing is, Conor's specialty and his only specialty is his left hand, is his knockout power, and I really don't know if he's going to be able to knock out Kamaru Usman. Because Kamaru Usman's constantly getting hit by way bigger people than Conor, and so I just don't see Conor winning that fight. Something special's got to happen for Conor to win that fight. That's definitely the toughest fight from the division. But I would love to see Conor fight. If I right now tomorrow night, if I could watch Conor McGregor fight someone from the welterweight division, it would be Jorge Masvidal or Stephen Thompson, but preferably Jorge Masvidal.
Okay. And quickly, before we go, we're running out of time. If you could watch any one fight between any two, at least similarly weighted fighters right now, an event, who would you want to match up?
Just snap my fingers, I get whatever I want. Yep. I would want to see at welterweight. I would want to see Kamaru Usman versus Khabib Nurmagomedov.
At the welterweight.
At welterweight.
Because you think Khabib is an oversized lightweight fighter. You think he should be in the welterweight division?
Yeah, and just because if Usman goes down to 155, it's probably going to hurt a lot for him. So I think it'd be that almost seems like a billing for a heavyweight fight. Those dudes, they kind of feel like they've got that heavyweight personality and then the power behind them. Yeah.
I get that. All right, Ethan. Thanks for coming on, and look forward to talking to you later, and hopefully having you on the show again.
I don't.
Of course you don't. All right. We'll see ya.